cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut. Top cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut.
Hey everybody, this is Sunny with the Top Cut podcast here. I went to a case tournament this past weekend hosted by Luck and Chuck Games in Lafayette, Louisiana. You should absolutely check them out if you get a chance. I did pretty well at the tournament. I got top 4, so it was about 30, 35 players, something like that.
I think it was like right at 30.
Yeah. And then it got cut down to top 8, and then we did top 4 and then finals. So it was for a case of Ghosts from the Past 2. Only top 4 got prizing, so they cut to top 8, but then you had to make top 4 to get prizing. So I had a great time. It was a good event. It was well run. There were a ton of likable people there. But as far as what I played to get top 4 at that event, I went ahead and I played Swordsoul. So we wanted to go ahead and give y'all a deck profile for today. This is not something that we normally do on the channel, but we wanted to do something a little bit different and give you a little bit of a peek into what we do when we approach the game. And we want to cover more competitive content and get more actual videos on our channel rather than just flat out
episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, we want actual video and not just a background with some wavy lines. So we'll go ahead and get on into the deck profile. And so the main deck, I love the main deck. It was perfect. I played 42 cards. I didn't brick at all, but like 1 or 2 times all day. And when I did brick, it was mainly due to either over or under siding. So I would see like a ton of side deck cards, and I would accidentally side out just a little bit too much engine. But to start off with the main deck, of course we have 3 Mo Yi. This is pretty self-explanatory. You never want to cut down 1 Mo Yi. It is the best card in the deck. When this card resolves, it is basically engage. Next we have 3 Swordsoul Strategist Longyan. Again, you can't really cut it down. It's the best extender in the deck, and it's perfect at 3. Always leave it at 3. Next you have 2 Swordsoul of Taya. So this card is really interesting. A lot of people are cutting it down to 1, but I think with 2 Desires in the deck now, because of the most recent Forbidden and Limited list, I don't think it's smart to cut it back down to 1. I see most people are going back up to 2, but I left it at 2 the entire time. It's one of the best follow-up cards in the deck, and I don't think that there is a better card that you can get off the top than the Taya. Next, we have 3 Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous. So a lot of people are cutting this one down to 2, but I don't understand why. The card is so versatile, and I understand that going first, it's not the normal summon that you want, but it gives you more ways to get into your engine, and it gives you a different way to play, especially if you're going second. It lets you play a little bit different and a little bit more versatile. So, for example, something that I find myself doing is, if my opponent has an established board, I will do something like Special Ecclesia and then normal Taya. And then if I activate Taya here, it forces a response no matter what. And for example, if they're doing branded in red, there's no really good way to hit it. Also, sometimes I would just synchro into Baxia without even using either of their effects, because a Baxia synchro right here is still going to shuffle 2 back, and you're still going to get off your tie-out effect. And then if you have something else that you can destroy with Baxia, then you can get back the Ecclesia and use it again. So I don't really see the need to cut this down. To me, it's a really necessary card at 3. So that's it for the actual Swordsoul lineup. Next we have the Tenu lineup. So we have 3 Tenu Spirit Ashina, 3 Tenu Spirit Adhara, 3 Tenu Spirit Vishuddha, and 1 Shatana. So Ashina is your best starting Tenu in the deck. Vishuddha is your best going second Tenu. Shatana is there mainly for your Heavenly Dragon Circle plays, but it does come up sometimes as a combo piece. And Adhara is good, but sometimes if I'm going second, I might side out 1 Adhara. It's a pretty good and integral combo piece, but your main way that you use Adhara, other than to synchro, sometimes you'll do a line where you special Ashina and then use Vessel to get Adhara, and then special Adhara, and then activate Ashina to get Vishuddha if you're going first to make a Synchro 8 play. but it's really not necessary most of the time. You can actually just use it as a discard piece or a piece of recovery to get back your Ashunas and your Vishudas once you've already used them. So I really just like maxing out on the Tenu names because giving yourself the most opportunity to open the most different lines of play in every hand gives you the opportunity to do so many things. And then Adhara also lets you play around Token Collector, because if you special Adhara and then special Longyan and they hit you with Token Collector, then you can synchro the Adhara and the Longyan to make Yazi to pop their Token Collector and keep playing. So that's it for the main deck engine monsters. We'll do hand traps at the end, but overall, like I said, I love the ratios here. I think that they're perfect and I wouldn't change them at all. Next for the spells, you play 3 Emergence. It is, of course, your Searcher, your starter, and the best Ash bait in the world, because the deck has so many ways to get Ash that hurt a lot more than this. This, honestly, if it resolves, awesome, and if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. I probably have other ways to keep playing the game. Next, we have 1 Swordsoul Sacred Summit. This is a card that literally nobody is playing anymore except for me. I love this card. It just gives you so many ways to do recovery plays in ways that your opponent is not expecting. And the ability to do something like get a tie-out off the top, to, if your opponent like breaks your board, you get a tie-out off the top, and then you go summon, or you go tie-out, summon Chi-Shao, or you can go Baxia, tie-out, summon Baxia, pop a card, and then bring back something from your graveyard to go Chi-Shao, and then you summon off of Chi-Shao to get into your next line of play. And something else that you can do is when you use your Chi-Shao early, you can actually banish this from your deck to do some level modulation plays, which does come up. So that's the Swordsoul spells. We have the Tenu spells. I played 2 Vessel for the Dragon Cycle and 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle. So Heavenly Dragon Circle is a lot better going second than Vessel, but Vessel is one of the strongest power cards in the deck. So I would not imagine... A lot of people want to play 3 of one or 3 of the other, or even 3 of both, but deck space is pretty limited, and I think that 2 and 2 is really the perfect ratio. I noticed that even the guy that got top 4 at the YCS over the weekend was playing 2-2. And I've been doing this for about 2 months. I think that the ratio here is really perfect, and it lets you play in so many different ways. Next, I played 2 Desires and 1 Call by the Grave. I don't think that these are really necessary to explain, but these are some of the best cards in the deck, and you have to play them. Next, we have 1 Swordsoul Blackout. This is your only engine trap. Blackout is amazing. The only issue with this card is that it's the only card in the deck that doesn't come higher than common. So other than that, the card's insane, and I sided out a lot going second, but it's really notable that if you need an extender, you can banish this from your deck off of Chi-Shao to keep your plays going.
Yeah, because it gives you a tuner.
Absolutely.
Tuner token.
4 tuner. Next for the hand traps, these are the last cards in the deck. I played 3 Infinite Impermanence, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and 3 DD Crow. So the DD Crow is here specifically to hit Branded in red. It's a versatile card and it comes up in other matchups, but it's there for Branded in red. If my opponent's doing things, I will let them go through their entire combo as long as I can hold this for their Branded in red. I would have Despia opponents doing all kinds of crazy things. I had one opponent that he activated Allure of Darkness 3 times and in 1 turn. And the only reason that I lost that game was because of a misplay that I made. But DD Crow and his Branded in red almost wins the game right there. Ash and Imperm are just generically really strong cards. Ash is a little weak into the Swordsoul matchup because they can play so many different cards to play around Ash or bait out an Ash just to keep playing. But Imperm really covers that matchup well because if you Imperm their Mo-Yi or something along those lines, a lot of times you can just end their turn. So I didn't have too much trouble with the mirror, but overall, I feel like this is a strong, generically good hand trap lineup that I really wouldn't change for right now. As long as Despia is in the format, this is a great lineup. So like I said, main deck was 42 cards. It was really perfect. I wouldn't have it any other way. I tried to play 40, and I just wanted to fit more cards in. I wanted the third Vishuda. I wanted the Imperms, things like that. I cut Ghost Bell because I don't really love Ghost Bell right now. A lot of times, your opportunity to activate it gets chain blocked. So Ghost Bell to me was not the best card in the deck. So going into the extra deck, we of course have the best cards in the extra deck, the tokens. I like to use water Pokemon as tokens because all of the Swordsoul tuners are water type. So
That's a good way to denote that.
yeah. So for the actual Synchro lineup, we have 1 Yazi, 2 Chixiao, 2 Baxia, 1 Draco Berserker of the Tenu. These are all of your worms that you play as far as the Synchro 8s go. It's pretty much a set in stone lineup. You can't really cut any of these cards. For a while, I wanted to cut the second Baxia, but it comes up like a lot. The more I play the deck and the better I get with it, the more I realize how important the second Baxia is. And Chixiao, I guess there's an argument for cutting it down to 1 because the second one doesn't come up a ton, but when it comes up, it's the most important card in your extra deck. And Yazi is your way that you play around Token Collector, and it helps to break boards, so it's absolutely necessary. And Draco Berserker lets you go for game, and it's just a generically powerful card, and it can also serve as an interruption. So this was the funniest tech card that I played in my extra deck. I did play 1 White Aura Whale. This card's very funny, and it absolutely does come up when you're trying to break boards, and in testing, I did win games off the back of this card alone. But that said, I picked up a Psychic End Punisher over the weekend, and this Psychic End Punisher is going to replace Aura Whale. So it's a good card, it's a funny card, but at the end of the day, I think that Psychic End Punisher fills the spot a lot better. So I would recommend Psychic End Punisher here. I played 1 Dragite as my last level 8. It's just a good end board card that can let you set up an extra Spell Trap Negate, which is very important because the deck does not have any native Spell Trap Negates. Next you have Chao Fang. Chao Fang, I have often argued that you can cut this card. It's okay. It can come up when you want to protect yourself from Nib, and it offers a lot of follow-up if you have a way to get into Chao Fang with Blackout, because it can lock your opponent and it can also let you search like Ash or something like that on the crackback. So when you pop it with Blackout, you pop 2 cards from your opponent and then you add a Ash to your hand. Next for the 10s, we have 1 Qijing Longyan, 1 Chang Ying, and 1 Baron. This is pretty standard. You always want to run these 3. Baron, I actually use more going second than going first, because going first, I really want to make Qijing Longyan, because this card's crazy. It lets you draw 2 if you don't care about Nibiru, and it also lets you serve interruptions on your opponent's turn. It serves as multiple interruptions as well as a gaining advantage. And Baron's really good, but that 1 negate is actually really easy to bait out, so I like having the extra interruption. And then the Chang Ying is really good when you want to push for game, especially if you've already activated Desires. So if you want to have a line to push for game using a 10 instead of an 8, this is your guy. And also, he really serves really well into some matchups like Earth Machine and I want to say even like Dinosaur and some decks like that. Like, this guy can be a monster to deal with. And then for the links, I played 2 Monk of the Tenu and 1 Shaman of the Tenu. So the thing is, a lot of decks are playing 3 Monk, but I really think only 2 is necessary. And I would rather get more toolboxiness out of my Synchro lineup than to have too many of these. And the Shaman is very cool. It can provide an extender. It can help you go for game in certain situations. But if I was going to do anything, I might replace this with an actual Berserker of the Tenu, which is the Link to Vanilla. Because there are times that come up where you're like, okay, well, I can get 2 Tenus on board, but then I still want to I want to put that one in grave. I want to put the extra one in grave without taking away my normal monster. So there is an argument to be made for that. But that's it for the deck. As far as main and extra, I guess we should still do the side deck. Let's run through it real quick one more time for anybody. So side deck was pretty geared towards playing. I think the deck is already good going first. So I wanted to have things that would really lock the game up for me going first. But Droll is here for, this is a card that's falling in popularity a lot, but I like Droll right now because if you have an opponent that's playing Despia and they're playing the Allures and the Patchwork Engine, this can be really punishing them for getting a little too greedy. So I would side in this going second against Despia, and also I played like an Earth Machine player. I sided it in against him. It just hurts like different rogue decks that want to combo, and it just hurts all of them. I played one Pank. Pank was okay. I never saw him. He never came up, but if I had to go back and change this, I would probably put in like a Mine out, like a Cosmic or a Twister. But overall, Pank is fine. I played 3 Crossout Designators. So these were there for the Mirror and for D-Barrier. So I would always side this in going second no matter what. That way I would have a way to cross out D-Barriers. D-Barrier is such a powerful and impressive card against Swordsoul that having something that is a native out to it is crazy. And also, this in the Mirror just wins you the game automatically. Duster is here for generic back row removal. I had like a couple of extra spots, and Duster seemed like a good fit. So for the Floodgates, I'm playing 3 Anti-Spell Fragrance and 3 D-Barrier. I don't know. They're good going first cards. These come in against almost everything. They come in against the Despia deck. They come in against Swordsoul. They come in against... on here, brought him in against the Punk Adventure Therian deck. So they're just generically good cards, and this can come in against any deck where you feel like your opponent is doing one kind of thing. Too much Synchro Summoning, D-Barrier. Too much Fusion Summoning, D-Barrier.
Anything that isn't Link Summoning, that's very specific.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the last card is Red Reboot, just because Eldritch is a thing. So I would side multiples, but guess what? It's at 1. So that's the deck list, main, side, and extra. I really love the way the deck performed. There's not really too many changes that I would make. I think the main deck is pretty much perfect. And then as far as the side and extra, the extra deck, like I said, that 1 White Aura Whale is going to become Psychic and Punisher. And as far as the actual side deck, so that was extra deck. And as far as side deck, I might take out the Pank for like another, like a Cosmic or a Twister Twins. But overall, I really liked the way the side deck felt. I loved Droll. It really came up when I used it. It ended people's turns. So overall, the deck performed very well. I love this list a lot. I theoried on it a lot. I tested with it a lot, and this is the list that I settled on. So please be sure to check out everything with this deck. Be sure to play test it if you want to play it, because if you're going to play it, you can't just throw it together and on like a Friday night and play it Saturday, because the deck is actually really complicated and it takes time to understand the lines. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to like down below and comment and let me know what you think. So thanks and have a good day.
Top cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut. Top cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top cut.